For all my friends, Niko Ivanov.
Let's go.
Here we are. I was just telling you before we started recording, I have two favorite kinds of podcast episodes. The episodes where I know fucking every single detail about the person and I've followed the career forever, or we're meeting in real time through good people and I get to learn these stories in person, brand new, fresh. And this is the latter, and I am so hyped.
Let's go. I'm so hyped as well.
Yeah.
And speaking of good people, shout out to Fish for introing us. Love that guy.
I need to start like a counter on the podcast of how many times it starts with shout out to Fish for introing us.
I'm sure he's got a high count at this point in life. Like, dude knows everybody.
And it's such a genuine connector. I love people like that. I love like just the like, you can instantly vibe check and be like, yo, you guys should know each other. That's surprising you don't.
Yeah.
And then just like that.
He is that guy.
He is.
Great friend, instant connector. Love you, Fish.
Truly love you. And then we also bonded a little bit because you had just linked with Sam Morrison, or maybe you guys have been longtime homies.
Yeah, that's my brother right there. Love Sam.
And then the episode came out when we were already scheduling ours, and you're like, dude, no way.
That's when I knew that we were, like, I already knew, but then it was like double confirmation where it was like, oh, I'm about to go on this podcast. Don't know exactly when. Saw Sam. Boom.
Done.
Gotta go.
Done. Yeah.
Lock it in.
That's so rad. And it's also on my side. I honestly had just kind of learned a little bit about Chad Tepper. I'd heard the name, but I hadn't like done the homework. And then we had an artist of ours on his show at the Roxy.
Let's go.
So Ryan Labrada opened and I was like, oh my God, this is sick. So it's like very full circle world moment here.
All interconnected.
Yeah.
What did you go to the show?
Yeah, it was great.
Let's go.
It was sick. Were you there?
Of course.
Oh, I like those moments where we like meet afterwards.
We're like in the same room, but like didn't cross paths. But yeah, of course I was there.
That's great.
Iconic moment.
That was really cool.
Thanks.
So for this podcast, I'm curious, like in the fact that I blindly trust Fish with anything. And if he says good people are good people, we're done. But I'm curious of your story because you manage an artist that I can see is clearly killing it and doing something really cool. And you have a way about yourself, just the way you communicate. I feel like this genuine air and excitement and passion for what you do. So I'm kind of just at this spot where I'm like, dude, I want to hear about this. Like, where did this come from? Did you always know it was going to be music? Like, maybe take me back to your early days. Like, was this always it? Where did it click for you?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, appreciate you. The vibes are reciprocated. I love Chad. It's been incredible working with him so far. And even kind of throwing it back to crossing paths with Chad, or even before crossing paths with Chad. Did I always know it was going to be music? No, not always. I knew it was going to be music when I was 19 though. So I'm 30. So it's been quite a while.
We're like exact same age then.
Let's go. Yeah. So 19 years old, I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
Yeah.
I just started, at the University of New Mexico studying business and marketing. And I'm like, I'm trying to kind of figure it out. Like, what do I actually want to do with this? I studied marketing because I love talking, and I'm like, well, marketing is kind of like macro level communication. So
that's kind of a good way to put it. I never thought about that.
That was like always the way. I'm like, I'm just talking to people about something I'm passionate about, whatever it may be. Hopefully you're passionate about it. Funny enough, I got dragged to see the Justin Bieber movie. And I'm kind of outing myself right now because back then it wasn't like cool to be a Bieber fan.
Yeah.
This is like teeny bopper.
Yes.
Biebs at the time. So I get dragged to this movie, group of people, life has changed. I walk out of this movie and I'm like, yo, never say never. I'm fired up. Like I can do anything. Like, and I wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a singer now.
Yeah.
No, my initial thought walking out of it was like, I watched this in the film. Like I watched this kid, like who I didn't really know much about, sell out Madison Square Garden in like minutes. And in my mind, I'm like, who's behind this? Like, how did this happen?
Mm-hmm.
Boom, like in comes like me starting to study and get infatuated with the idea of making something like this happen.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. Scooter, is he in it?
Yeah, Scooter, you got Ryan Good, like all these team members. Then I'm like, it's a whole village of people making this happen.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my whole thing with people is that anytime I see greatness, I'm like, thank you. That's permission. You just unlocked me. Like, you're great, and I'm not threatened by that. I'm like, if you could do it, I can do it.
Yes.
Because we're all human beings.
Dude.
So whether you got a big house, whatever it may be, whatever it is for that person.
Yeah.
You know, some people are really enamored by materials. Some people are enamored by like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that person's career, whatever it may be, whatever it is that makes you tick and gets you excited.
Yeah.
It's another human being who did that.
Dude.
So I watched the movie. I'm like, these are human beings. They did that. I just got permission. I'm unlocked. I'm 19. But I still don't know where to go. I'm from Albuquerque, New Mexico.
That's so beautiful though. Like you kind of got me fucked up. We're what, 7 minutes into this? And I'm like, oh my God, this man's a wizard. Like,
let's go.
What a crazy way to like seeing somebody else does it unlocks that and it gives you permission. And you're so right. Cause I'm always like, there's plenty of room for everyone to succeed.
Yeah.
But what a beautiful way to look at it. If like, instead of taking that energy and being threatened, if somebody's like killing it, it's like, no, dude, that's permission. Why not you then? It's clearly possible.
Why not you? Why not? This person has the biggest podcast in the world. Why can't you?
Right.
Whatever it is, fill in the blanks. Someone has already blazed the path and is literally doing it.
Yeah.
We're human beings. So we're pretty much at 99% or close to like biologically, genetically the same.
Yeah.
So
it has to be somewhat mental then.
You got
other factors.
Of course.
Have you read the Russ book?
The Russ book?
Yeah, Russ wrote a book.
No.
It's like sometimes like the last book I read is like fresh on my mind.
Okay.
I think it's called Get Out of Your Head or It's All in Your Head. And it was like a short book and it's like so beautiful. And it's also like talking about
I got to check it
all
out.
that. Yeah.
I'm a huge reader. I love reading. I love reading.
Yeah. I like, didn't expect it. He's not heavy on my radar.
Yeah.
But it was like I think I
feel
feel that. Like it's that kind of energy. So anyway, you're 19.
So I'm 19.
It's possible.
It's possible. Exactly. But I'm like, well, what do I want to do? For whatever reason, this fire of dance gets ignited. I'm a ex-athlete, played baseball and football in high school. I'm going to college just for academics. I'm not doing anything athletic in a team setting. So then I'm like, well, what if I like started dancing? Because like in the movie, there's like background dancers, they're killing it. And I'm like, well, that would be cool. So I start pursuing that. And through my pursuit of that, I get in with a dance company or a crew, and we're doing like hip hop and all these different things and kind of doing things around the city. Then sparks, well, I have the It's Possible. I'm doing the dance thing, kind of starting getting more and more integrated in the arts and things like that. And then, long story short, I discovered an artist who's a 15-year-old hip hop act. His name is GADDO. Shout out GADDO. I still work with him today, 11 years later. That's my brother. So I'm 19, he's 15. We cross paths. Make a really long story short. Obviously, we cross paths. We start doing stuff. Well, I was working at the bowling alley at the time. And I'm like, yo, there's the two main hip hop radio DJs would come in. So I started hooking them up with the free lanes and the free shoes and just like schmoozing them.
Yeah.
To try and like get guidance.
Yeah.
Because again, Albuquerque, like I don't have anyone guiding me. Now I'm a music manager, self-proclaimed 19-year-old music manager. I saw the Justin Bieber movie. I can do it.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm doing mad research, by the way.
Yeah.
But I'm like, relationship.
Yo, but check me out. What you just said there again, you were saying some things that are so powerful to me that like I sometimes a guest will say something. I'm like, we have to talk about the fact what you just said there. That is a thing that giving people permission and understanding that you don't really like go to school and then graduate and say you're officially a music manager now. Anybody that's a music manager basically has a day where one day they're not, and then the next day they say, I'm going to manage artists.
Yeah.
That is a self-proclaimed thing.
100%.
As far as how much you educate yourself and how much you take it seriously and how good you are, completely on you. And there's tons of ways to learn that. But like planting your flag in the ground at any point, you can give yourself permission. So like you did that. You were just like, this
is
GADDO.
Me. I'm 19. I'm a music manager. You know how crazy I sounded?
That's insane.
Probably to all the people, all my friends,
yeah,
or people I would just meet. Like, oh yeah, I go to UNM, but like I also manage music artists.
Did you get like pushback or like people
all the time?
Shit on
people
it?
are like, okay, whatever that means. And then it was like, all right, we gonna find out.
Yeah.
And so just started connecting the dots, trying to build relationship. I didn't hook the DJs up with the lanes to get something other than a little bit of favor to build a relationship.
Yeah, and
to pick their
being
brains.
able to talk to
exactly.
them.
Not like, hey, will you get me on the radio because I put you
right,
on lane
yeah.
8? Like, no, obviously not.
I hooked you up with $10. What's up, bud?
Yeah, like, you remember me, boss? Like,
Yeah.
Here's the mixtape.
Dap them up. You remember me, lane 8.
Yeah, here's the mixtape, Holiday Bowl. But I did develop the relationship to where it was like, hey, I'm not asking you to put me on the radio, but that would be tight. But
you understood. It was knowledge. It was just a natural place where you could talk to them. And
where do I go?
Yeah.
What do I do?
Yeah.
And so they started kind of introducing me to some people. Hey, you should. I'm not gonna warm intro you, but you need to go here. You need to go there. Long story short, we found ourselves getting on, opening for some pretty notable acts. So, Albuquerque, we're not a major market by any means, but it's a great pit stop between Dallas and Phoenix.
Yeah.
So you still get, the Kendrick Lamars, the J. Coles of the world, especially, this is a while ago. This is like right when Good Kid, Mad City's dropping. So we did open for that. We opened for Mac Miller, the Macadelic Tour, rest in peace, Mac. Wow. That was our first big show. And that's when I first realized I'm not crazy. I can actually do this. Like, we're backstage at the Mac Miller show, about to do it. He's 16 now. I'm still 19. And we're doing this.
Wow.
Names on the flyer.
Wow.
And, just kind of shaking and moving, building, graduate college, and was like, I'm going straight to LA. GADDO stayed, while I came out here, lay some ground roots and try and figure it out. And ended up actually pivoting out of music for a little bit. I always worked with GADDO. Yeah. But in terms of, I got a job at Paramount Pictures for marketing. So I started working in film.
Whoa. But that kind of has to happen sometimes because that is a struggle of manager that isn't the same as other industry jobs. Because if you work at a label, you're still getting a check when you're doing the A&R research or the very base entry social media, whatever. Mm-hmm. As a manager, if you're kind of relying on your artist's success and come up and income, in the beginning, you have to fund yourself. Unless you work at a company. I guess you could be like an assistant or like an artist manager assistant.
Well, for me, it was like one, I come from very humble beginnings with, I have a single mom, from Albuquerque, not a lot of money there, so funding it was never an option. And, getting a job, like working for a label or something like that didn't happen either.
Right.
So it's like, this is, again, that self, like, it's a passion project, really. Like, I'm doing this with making no money for years because I just loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to me, it was like, it became bigger than like, oh, I'm trying to be a big music manager. Like, the relationship, the brotherhood, the experiences that I had with GADDO and still have. And it's like, at the end of the day, you see someone with so much talent that you believe in and you're like, I'll do anything to help you and unlock you. Like, let's do it. I'm like here to serve other people. Yeah. Like, that's my biggest thing is like, I just feel like human beings, like, go for your dreams and goals and aspirations with all you have and make the money and do all those things. It's beautiful. Yeah. But are you helping other people?
Right.
And for me, it was like, I am. Yeah. I am helping other people.
Yeah.
No matter what. So I get the job at Paramount and then I'm like, this ain't my forever.
Yep.
Worked there for years. It was beautiful. Still have great relationships with my team to this day, but I left.
Yep.
I just was like, you know what? I didn't even have a backup. I just knew I needed to go.
You knew you were a manager at that point. Yeah. Like, you were learning, I'm sure, and you were meeting great people and probably doing cool stuff, but every day you're there, you're not able to be the full manager you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every day you're there, you're not here.
Right.
You know
Yeah.
Man, I ended up leaving, and a really great friend of mine, his name is Andre Jenkins. He actually works at United Masters now. Great A&R, but a great dude.
Yeah.
Shout out Andre.
Shout out.
He actually asked me to come on and be Mick Jenkins' assistant tour manager. Mm-hmm. So we did the Piece of a Man tour, and that was my first tour.
Wow.
So we tour, we do all of the US, Canada, gone for like 8 weeks, whatever. Then I'm doing just one-offs with Mick. When I'm in New York for a show, I meet this dude on social media, actually. And now he's my business partner. We started an agency together. And so we run outside of what I do with Chad, but this is how I got to Chad. We started this agency and we do basically anything in the digital space, from content creation, music videos. We could run your socials. We could do whatever.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you found a unique lane, a unique advantage, something that you could really own.
Absolutely. And then it was different from Paramount, because it was like, this is a job. This is something that, one, I'm building, I have ownership in. So that's great. But it's also teaching me to become a better manager, because we're working with music artists. So I'm seeing high level managers and how they function and how they go. So it's like, you are who you surround yourself with.
Fact.
And those conversations that you're absorbing. So I'm like, oh, I'm kind of like in Harvard for music management, just because I'm doing the social marketing or a music video for these established signed artists, and I'm learning. And then one day I get a call from a buddy of mine who's from New Mexico. He's a producer. He produced for a bunch of people, but he really helped launch Lil Xan. And was like a big part of that team.
What a special time that was.
Yeah,
that's like Lyrical Lemonade was like fucking mind blowing. Like it was just like something so different. And this whole scene of hip hop was so special.
Yeah, it was definitely quite a time.
I think that was like, in my head, I think of that as like 2016-ish. Does that sound right?
I mean, probably for him, yeah. And then I got maybe 17.
Maybe 17.
Yeah, 16, 17.
Yeah. SoundCloud was so fun.
Dude.
Man.
Yeah, it was a fun moment.
That was good.
It's definitely, no matter somebody's opinion on it, that's a moment.
For sure.
And so his name's Kinfolk John. Dude that I've known for a long time. We're from the same home states. Very rare to meet a fellow New Mexican in LA or really anywhere.
Yeah.
So he hits me and he's like, yo, I need to get a video done for Diego. Can you do it?
Diego, like, Lil Xan.
Lil Xan. Yeah. My bad. So he's like, I need to get a video done for Lil Xan. Can you do it? I'm like, yeah, sure. But it was like on a tight timeline.
Yeah.
It was like 2 days. I'm like, bro, sick. Full music video, 2 days. Let's ride. I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
So we get it done. Well, on set, Diego and I really link. We click. It's the energy's great. We just would hang out and just kick it. And then one day he put me in a group chat with somebody and was like, hey, this is my day-to-day manager, Niko. So then I was like, I call him. I'm like, day-to-day manager. He's like, well, yeah. That's like, let's do it. And I'm like, whoa, you kind of just did it, you know? And
talk about planting a flag in the ground.
Yeah. And so I was just kicking it at his house, like working on my agency stuff on my computer, like doing whatever with him. And he ended up getting like a live stream TV show. And one of the guests, lo and behold, on this live stream TV show, Chad Tepper.
Wow.
And so that kind of brings it all full circle. That's the real story. I meet Chad when I'm working with and for Diego, Lil Xan, and Chad showing me some music. And I'm like, dude, this is really good.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. And he's like, oh, you messing with me? Like, a lot of people, you know, kind of doubt and hate on me and this and that. And I'm like, no, bro, like, this is really good. So we had a handshake deal right there. He was like, do you want to manage me? I'll give you 3 months.
Yeah.
And he was like, I was like, all right, let's do it. You know, I'm like, no pressure. I'm in a no pressure situation because I'm working with Diego. I've got my thing.
Yeah.
This dude's super dope. Our energy, I just knew this guy's a good guy, man.
Yeah.
He's got such a big heart.
Yeah.
Then I put the music, plus he's a hard worker. I'm like, let's see what can happen. Well, that handshake deal of 3 months, it's been 3 years, you know, and we've been really in the trenches together. And really it comes down to, dude, like, I love that guy. He's my brother.
Yeah.
But we have a great business, yin and yang.
Yeah.
And we trust each other.
Yeah.
Like, what he wants to do, when he comes to like creative and a lot of his marketing stuff, I mean, he's built his socials up so well. I'm like, I trust you.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to a lot of business decisions or even like my feedback of what song should come, whatever it may be, he just trusts me.
I've never met Diego or Lil Xan in person either, but I've actually heard similar things of like internet version of who you think he might be is not like, he's like very chill, very kind. Like,
isn't that just 2022 though?
Isn't
and
it?
Like the internet in general is like, there's such a perception around people.
Right.
good or bad.
And I think it's brilliant for the people like Lil Xan or even Chad to a degree, but you see it where people will be these really exaggerated characters on the internet. And I think it's the most brilliant marketing in the world. Like, people don't have an attention span to like learn every favorite hobby and all these things. So like, when you're just this bright character that's like so noticeable and so much that thing, I think it's the best quick marketing. And then it's like, some people just instantly think, oh, that's you through and through forever. And it's like, maybe they're brilliant for making something so instantly recognizable.
There's definitely a level of genius to that for sure.
Yeah.
I will say with Chad, he is who he is. Like, he's authentic. When you meet him, like, he's got a huge personality, soaks up the room because, I mean, what you see on socials is like, dude's down. Like, you know, he's down to have a great time. And, you know, he doesn't necessarily do the stunts anymore because he's really, really focused on the music. But don't put it past him. There's times where I'm like, yo, okay.
You're like, yo, reel it back.
Let's go. There's some funny stories when we first started working together. He calls me. He's like, I'm going to have the Guinness Book of Records, the world records dude, come over to my house. I'm going to set like as many records as I can today. And I'm like, cool. What are they? Instantly, I have anxiety.
Yeah.
And every one, I'm like, no. Like, I'm going to put as many cigarettes out on my tongue as possible. I'm like, you're a singer. Like, that's...
Don't do that. That's the thing you use to sing.
Yeah. But so we ended up checking that down. But it's a lot of fun. There's never a dull moment. And it's like, I just love them. And I love what we get to do. But yeah, man, social media, kind of going back to the Diego thing, is like, I just think we're in such a place of society where it's like, we're just so quick to marginalize and box people in and label them and be like, this is what you are, and that's it.
No, I agree. Mm-hmm. I agree. And it's like, I think that I always have a reminder to myself of like, remember that there's internet people and then who they actually are. Yeah. And both can be very separate things. And that's so okay.
And just even like, we all, internet or no internet, you have different sides of you. You are the same person.
Yeah.
Hopefully you have like, you know, integrity.
Yeah.
But like, we're human beings. There's multiple levels to who you are.
Yeah.
And that who you open up to in certain ways is different than who you do with someone else. You know what I mean? Like, when you first meet someone, typically you're not like, oh, this is my whole life.
Right. Exactly.
But then when it comes to like the internet and looking at others, it's like, no, that's who they are.
Right.
But me, I'm complex and I'm different. And that wasn't my intention. But them, that's who they are. And it's like, man, come on.
It's a tricky thing to navigate, but it's so real. Yeah. No, I had a separate question though, is you're an interesting case where, I mean, I guess this is common enough, but you really are a manager from day one. Granted, there's bits of the story where you're like, oh shit, yeah, I guess I'll go work over here. Or like, you know, kind of figuring it out, making it work. But I kind of did the manager game for a minute. And I liked it, but it could just tell it like wasn't my thing. Like the way you speak of it and the passion, like it wasn't it. But I always, with this podcast, I try to ask questions that would maybe help somebody that's interested in a field, right? That like I really am about helping that next generation and everything and talking to that. Do you think that there was a moment where something clicked for you where you were like, oh, I really can live off of this, or this can be real? Because you have to have so much blind faith in the beginning. Did you have a moment like getting on another flyer, or getting a show, or getting a tour where it was like, okay, like this is actually connecting? Because you kind of quit the Paramount job like pretty blind, right?
100% blind. I mean, from the beginning, like I actually have Mac Miller's like vulture that was tattooed on his neck. I got this tattooed recently. I actually got it tattooed after Chad signed with Epitaph.
No way.
Because when I was 19, we did that show. And that was the first time where everyone, for like that first year of being a manager, where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm a manager. And it was like, haha, like, you know, there's Niko, the music manager, like, oh, what's up, bro? You know, and like people kind of cracking, like not being mean, but it's like funny, you know what I mean? Like, because
Yeah,
Who
like
else do we know that's doing it? Nobody.
It's Albuquerque, dude. You're young. Like that's the thing is, I can feel that. I remember, I tried. You know,
Yeah.
like it takes a lot. Like sometimes you have to like try these things and find it. So I know that feeling of like knowing it in yourself before the world does.
And so the Mac Miller thing was like seeing a line of 50 people taking a photo with GADDO who opened that show.
Yeah,
Like afterwards.
yeah,
Having people like from like on UNM campus who were, because it's small. So it's like everyone went to the Mac Miller show.
mm-hmm.
Also, he was young. So I had a hype man for him at the show. So I'm like, because it was like, I don't know, 5,000 people or something like that. You put a 16-year-old in front of 5,000 hip hop fans, dude. You know what I'm saying? So I just went on and I hype man for him, just hit his punchlines, keep the energy flowing.
Yeah.
So a lot of people thought like I was like going around UNM and then they'd be like, "Oh, you're like a rat," and I'm like, "No, like don't get it twisted." So that was like
that's
nobody can say anything to me. I've already seen the vision.
Yep.
And not nobody can say anything to me because I made it. No, but now like I had the vision and now I know I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
And I'm in.
Wow.
And
so you got that early. You really did.
I really did out of the gate.
Yeah.
And just because like the leaving Paramount was a little bit of twofold. Like one, just that you know when you're nowhere that it's just not my forever. But two, like, and why I think music management has been what it's been in my life is I'm called to people, man. I'm called to be around people, to speak with people, to help people. And music management is a lot more than this is the next song and this is the rollout and this is the social media and this is the deal and this is your lawyer and this is your agent and this is the merch. There is a level to this, kind of even speaking like you're talking about to the younger generation, where it's like, at least for me, the only people I've ever managed, which are GADDO, Chad Tepper, and my boy Pseudo. I have such a strong personal relationship with them outside of music that I'm like, I've told Chad this many times, I'm like, you can be the biggest star in the entire world. But if you're messed up in your finances, you're a bad person, whatever it may be, like I failed. If you're depressed, if you've got like addictions, then I failed you. And it doesn't matter if there's all these plaques on the wall and driving all the cars and all the houses and all the success, I failed you. And that has always been it for me.
That's
powerful. Do I want these things? Of course I do. This is the industry we're in. Of course I want Chad to have generational wealth and, plaques all over, as well as that. I do want that for him.
Yeah.
But I don't want it for him more than I want him to be a great person.
Well, dude, it's crazy. Like, just in you saying that, I think that differentiates your mentality of being a manager from many, because a lot of times I'll have a conversation or I'll hear a manager say something that's a little bit the opposite of that, where they're like, it's not my job to be their babysitter. It's not my job to like do this, this, and this. The business is good. Where it's like, yeah, I guess technically like that is like if you were to say like the job description of a manager, but like the way you say that, I'm like, fuck, like you care. Like this is genuinely like your thing. Like where like it's more than a check. It's like purpose and passion.
Yeah. I mean, I did it for like, I wouldn't say that there was any money that was made for 11 years from 19 to 30.
Yeah.
So people, parents, friends, whatever, is like, what are you doing?
Right.
And that's, of course I had Paramount and I've got NOX and different things along the way to take care of myself and provide.
Is NOX your agency?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I would be a music manager probably no matter what.
Interesting.
Just because I love it so much and I love people and I love being able to help. A lot of artists, if they could do the management stuff, then they wouldn't need a manager.
Right.
So it's like we're here to help each other. And that, again, is just such a big thing for me, where it's like you have to, for me, genuinely care about what's going on in the people that I have met that are, peers in the industry or even mentors and role models. It's like I see them do the same thing.
Yeah.
Like you just had Travi on.
Yeah.
We had the honor and privilege. Travi, shout out to you, Trav.
Oh my God, get me started on my love for that dude.
We got to do a song with him. Chad has a feature with Travi, And that happened because Travi is an angel, but also because his manager Hodge is an angel. Hodge is the man.
Hodge is the guy.
And like they're just such genuine people. But the thing is, if you watch Hodge and Travi, they love each other.
That's
man.
it.
They're brothers.
They've
they're
been
in it.
through it all.
They're in it.
Yeah.
And that to me was like even further confirmation of like, yeah, that is, if I was to tell you how to be a manager, that is the way.
Yeah.
Is to have that genuine care.
Yeah.
Because money comes and goes. Money is fleeting. You know what I mean? It's like at the end of the day, I just don't define success as finances, status, awards, these things. Who cares, man?
Yeah.
Of course, like, am I sitting here saying you shouldn't want to have a number one song? No, what are we talking about?
Right. It's a great metric to success. I think money is a very good thing. It's like an afterthought. It's a thing that naturally comes when you put out a good product and you've done something well. So it's a very like gratifying and reaffirming reward when you're doing it right. But to flip that value and to only chase that and not to chase the integrity and the good work and making a meaningful product is backwards. Because when you do all of that, you're going to get the money.
Yeah. I mean, well, money doesn't equal happiness.
Facts.
And I'd rather be happy than rich.
Facts.
Because I know a lot of rich people who aren't happy.
Bro, and that's such a cliche, but like when you live it and when you've experienced it and like you see both sides, like, my God.
But I know a lot of happy people who aren't rich.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah, I want money. And we're going to get it. That's for sure. But I want happiness. And I believe that happiness, when you really start to break down the, psychology of somebody's brain, is like a happy person is a harder worker. A happy person usually yields more success. But success doesn't make someone happier. Success doesn't yield happiness. And if it does, it's for a moment.
Right.
But happiness can bring you to success because you're just functioning at a higher level.
Yep.
And, good things kind of come and good people kind of come more and more often because you're reflecting light and that unto the world. And so that's what's kind of brought back to you. And I couldn't imagine living that life where it's like, yeah, we got money, but like I'm depressed and like I don't like the people I'm around.
Yeah.
It's not for me.
So real. I kind of had a moment of exactly what you're talking about where I did like a solo recap of this podcast not too long ago. And I was thinking about it and I had done the podcast. I think I hit 3 years and a little bit now. And I thought that it would be like further along, right? I was joking to you, like, as I set up the studio, I was like, one day we're going to joke about me having the studio.
Yeah.
But I've had the moments where I'm like, oh, like if it was all about money, you're allowed to quit now. Like it's not like paying every bill. But I think about it and I'm like, this is the highlight of my day, the highlight of my week. Like I love having conversations like this. I love meeting people. And it's like, it's kind of easy to compare yourself or to think money is the metric. But then when I stop and check myself, and when I did that recap episode, that was one of the things I shared. I was like, all the things I've learned from doing a podcast. And it's like, do the shit that makes you happy and do it for the sake of the art of it and the sake of it. And like when I said that out loud and when I really reaffirmed that, I was like, oh yeah, I fucking love this. Like I'll do this forever.
That's it.
So like, yeah, I feel you. And it's a great lesson. It's a great thing to talk about because it is unfortunate that in the day and age, I don't even know if it's the day and age, it's probably just forever that like, it's so easy to compare societal success to like actual real success. Like, oh, status and wealth, that's success. Is it?
Well, then also like you've got your phone where you're just scrolling through and looking at everybody else's highlight reel. And the beautiful thing is this topic is being spoken about more and more of like, don't compare your everyday to somebody's highlight reel.
Totally.
It's very hard not to. It's a lot easier said than done. But I also just feel like for me, like happiness comes from having security and like, I know who I am.
Ooh.
And I'm good here.
Yeah.
And not to say I'm not reaching for higher, but I'm just saying, because we will get there. And I look at my life now and I'm like, I have the most amazing wife. I have my dream job. I live in my dream city. I have amazing mentors. And I couldn't ask for anything more from...
And you work with some of your favorite people ever.
Yeah. A kid from Albuquerque, New Mexico, who grew up with a single mom. And I went through a lot in high school and even college. I mean, I've lost a lot of people. And when I look back at everything, I'm like, yeah, I'm just happy.
Yeah.
And whatever's in the bank isn't going to make me more or less happy. For me, like I told you, I'm a big faith guy. So like, I don't put my faith in a dollar.
Right.
The money will come. That's all good. But like, my happiness is external of things that are fleeting.
That's so beautiful. Something that I like to do with the podcast, though, is like, I do want it to be a tool for the next generation. And I love having people like yourself that set that great example. And I can feel it, that you love it, But
thank you for that, by the way.
Yes.
That's a huge compliment. I received that. Like, thank you.
Dude,
I received that.
You're
Let's
welcome.
go. Yeah.
But like, maybe to that young you and to somebody that feels, that has that inkling, that sees that thing, they see somebody else doing it and they get that permission. And then they're like, this is the beginning of my path. Maybe the lessons that you learned earlier, some of the things that really helped you along. Is there any bits, if anybody gravitates to your story, that you could share that would help them along that path?
Yeah. First and foremost, you are what you say you are. And I am a living, breathing testimony, if you will, of that, where it's like, I said I was a music manager, even transparently when I didn't even know what that meant.
Yeah.
Fully.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I'm a music manager.
Yes.
And so I think there's such a great power of words, right?
Yeah.
Where it's like, speak what you see, thoughts become things.
Yeah.
I am this.
Yeah.
So start with that. Because if you're not convinced on it, nobody will be.
Yes.
How are you going to be a music manager you don't even think you are?
Yeah.
How are you going to be the biggest artist in the world you don't even think you are?
Right. And you kind of have to say it out loud a little bit, huh? Like you kind of have to like practice it a little bit.
You have to be
like,
sold
yeah,
on it.
Yeah.
Like to your core.
Yeah.
Where it's like, at the end of the day, I'm a music manager. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, or whatever
that
be,
thing is. Yeah.
Insert blank. So first and foremost, what's your self-talk like? Get right with yourself. Make sure you understand.
Yeah.
And you're all in. Because once you are, and that's why once you start there, then you start to take the steps to figure it out. So number one, a lot of people say, study your craft.
Yeah.
I think I got a lot of this from when I was a dancer.
Yeah.
We would have rehearsal like crazy, but we would also have what my artistic director, who's a big brother and mentor for mine. His name's Trey Pickett. We would do visual training. Mental training, where we would literally watch videos of like some of the best dancers in the world. And he would be like, you got to visualize this. And so I think a lot of that self-talk and visualization of like, this is what I am. And it's like the wax on, wax off. Like, cool, I can do this in my sleep. I know it. I know it. So from there, you start training on the craft and thinking about it and consuming it and looking at the greats, because success will always leave clues where it's like, these people did it. How did they do it?
Success will always leave clues. That's bars.
Let's go. Where it's like, I see them. I just got permission. How did they do it?
Yeah.
I need to follow a similar path. Okay, well, even better, I see all these people doing it. So for me, it was like, I looked at Scooter Braun. I looked at Cortez Bryant, because Lil Wayne at the time was my favorite rapper and probably still is.
Yeah.
Shout out Wayne.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I looked at, like I said, Cortez Bryant, Scooter Braun, Say It Ain't Tone. I'm looking at Jamil. I'm looking at all of these different managers who had very successful and still have very successful careers. And I start just studying what it is that they did.
Yeah.
And from there, you kind of start replicating those steps. Okay, cool. Well, I saw that they really had their first big break at this local venue in Louisiana or wherever it was. Tight. Well, I need to go and find my local venues. So then I go and I start, which is kind of the next step, creating relationships and putting yourself out there, because you don't ask, you don't eat. You know what I mean?
Dude.
And I think there's a really big thing where we're afraid to put ourselves out there because there's pride and ego. And what if they shut me down? For me, I've always been in this place where I'm like, if I ask you and you say no, I'm literally in the exact same place I was.
Yeah.
And if you don't like me because I asked you about things to help me pursue my dreams and goals, then I don't even want to be around you in the first place.
Probably not the right fit. That's a pretty easy way to be like, well, let's end this now. Yeah, that's not it.
Like, oh, you're mad that I'm trying to, and it's not like I'm asking for handouts. I'm just trying to connect and learn. And if that's something that you're not about, cool, then we're not about each other.
Yeah.
So creating the relationships, and when it gets to the relationships, investing in the relationships, not just for an agenda. as to say,
Oh.
like when I was talking about the bowling alley and the radio DJs, I just wanted to be around them in proximity, have conversation. If I could get a tidbit, a little jewel of hope, a little gem here and there, great. Honestly, the reason why Andre brought me on tour, because I asked him, I was like, well, midway through the tour, I was like, why'd you bring me? Because I didn't have necessarily a lot of experience
Yeah, you didn't have the
doing
resume,
that, and he was like, dude, it's because so many people hit me up and will hit me with the, hey, how are you? Next thing is a question. And he was like, you just would hit me up and say, hey, how are you? And then that was it.
Right.
Like you just genuinely wanted to know how I was doing. And so I think, like I said, kind of breaking it down, you are what you say you are. So you speak it.
Mhm.
Once you speak it, then you go and you start to learn it and you study it.
Mhm.
Once you find out those how the clues that will lead you to success, they're going to come from relationships, because every time you watch someone who wins a Grammy or wins this or wins that, they don't get up there and say, I want to thank me. They get up there and they say, I want to thank this person, my A&R, my agent, my mom, my blah, 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 everything. That's all those people were relationships.
Yeah.
So you go and you find relationships, and then you invest in those relationships, not just for your gain.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of like a really valuable last step of like, all right, if you do these things well, and you never, and not to be cliche, and you never give up, but like literally it is a grind.
Yeah.
There are those nights where it's like, should I do this? It's been 10 years. I can't believe I'm still doing this. Will it ever happen? Maybe I'm this, maybe I'm that, maybe I'm not this. And you kind of push through those fears, and because you have great relationships, people to keep you accountable. You have great self-talk. So that's just a moment, a weak moment.
Yeah.
And you know what you're doing because you've studied it.
Yeah.
That, to me, show me a person in any industry who's doing those things well or consistently, who isn't doing exactly what they want to do.
Right.
And crushing it.
And that's like their success, right? Because like, then again, if you're doing those things and doing those things well, maybe you're not going to fucking measure yourself against the richest person in the industry, but I guarantee you that person's happy and that person's living a good life.
100%.
Yeah.
And maybe they will become
and
rich.
It will probably, that's actually funny because you're probably right. And it will be there. Yeah.
Someone who's killing their job and is happy.
Yeah.
They're probably doing good too, financially. So,
dude,
that's what I would say.
That's really remarkable advice. And so much of that, like, as you were saying it, I'm sitting there and like sometimes, like as the host, I'm kind of just like, yeah. And like, I'll like want to add something. Nope, they're killing it. They're killing it. Like that was like so good. I'm so happy that that's there and recorded, because like that's gospel. Like that's something that's like useful. That's what I want out of the podcast, because it's like sometimes in those weak moments or the uncertainty, or sometimes you just need to hear it again. But like hearing so many other people, doing the podcast for myself, being so many episodes in, and then having a conversation like this, I'm like, he's so right. Like that's it. And I never get tired of hearing that. And I really hope that helps. Young me in that grind and uncertainty would have loved that. So thank you.
Thank you, man. It's been seriously such a great journey, and I'm thankful that we crossed paths. And
dude,
I hope whoever's listening to this gets something out of it as well. And I have a feeling this isn't the last time for us to connect.
I have that feeling as well. I very much have that feeling. What about if somebody did listen to this and they really loved it, like, should we shout out like your social? Like I always like to tell listeners to like send a guest like a DM and be like, hey, thank you, or anything like that.
If you hit me up, I promise you I will respond. Sick. Especially if you're like, hey, I heard you on this podcast.
Sick.
So my name is Niko Ivanov.
Yeah.
It's very Bulgarian, so kind of hard to spell, but it's just Niko G Ivanov across all socials. If you type in Niko G, I will probably pop up sooner than later.
I'll link it all in there too, but cool. Thank you for that.
Of course.
I appreciate that.
Thank you, man.